Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so excited because we have Bonnie Yates back with us on Skype. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi.
We're so glad to see you again. And Bonnie is an amazing special education attorney, and she's an amazing mom, and now she's an amazing grandma, and she's just an all-around fabulous person. She is here and donates her time to answer you guys' question, and we're so grateful to her and to the law firm of Hirji and Chow for allowing her to come to be with us. And Bonnie, we need at this point for you to tell us a little bit about Hirji and Chow and then give us the disclaimer.
Okay, really quickly, Hirji and Chow specializes in special education and disability discrimination based in Culver City. The phone number is 310-391-0330, and the website is www.lawyer4children.com. The disclaimer is that when we answer questions, they're of general applicability, meaning we get a thumbnail sketch from somebody, we don't know all the facts. We are answering only generally and only under California law where I'm licensed, or federal law, which is the IDEA as it applies in the 50 states. So most people really have a specific problem that they should see a lawyer for. So we're trying to teach you about your rights under the IDEA, but probably if you have a specific controversy, you really need to get some more focused attention. Sit down with somebody that can ask you the right questions. So with that said, we had questions for today.
Yeah, let me dive right in. Do you want to talk about charters?
What I wanted to say was I want to do something in the next few weeks on injuries at school. Because a lot of kids get injured at school, and we get a lot of questions also about my kid is coming home with bruises or marks, or, we've talked a little bit about that, but we're going to venture into the realm of how you preserve your right to sue if you believe your child has been injured at school. The other thing I wanted to say before you read the questions is the first question, I believe, is from a parent that had questions about a charter school.
Yeah.
And the whole arena of charter schools is huge. So I'm going to make some general comments about her question and about charter schools generally. And then next week, I'll have more time to actually do some research. And I'm going to do something about special ed rights in charter schools.
Wonderful.
So that's all coming up.
Okay, great. So the first question is about, and I actually think there's a second question about charter schools in here, although they don't specifically name it that, but we'll get to that. First question is, my grandson is in a private charter. The school is telling my daughter she has to pick him up when he misbehaves. I hear you talking about his right to a free, appropriate education. Does that change in a private charter school? What are his rights there?
Okay, so listener, apologies for not being knowledgeable about this area, and thanking you for having directed my attention to this area. I sent before the show a U.S. publication on your rights in charter schools, and that's what we're going to talk about next week. But Shannon can post that. Oh, yes. She's so ahead of the game. Look at that.
Well, not me. Cindy's ahead of things. And have this printed, and I have it in many different languages too. But it's not a small document, let's say that.
It's like 30 pages or something, yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, okay, so there's a lot of stuff about privatization and charter schools. So first of all, interestingly, charter schools got impetus for coming into existence because of No Child Left Behind and the race to the top. And apparently part of No Child Left Behind was encouraging failing schools to convert to charter schools, and the race to the top encouraged schools to create themselves as charter schools as a way to get government grants. There's been a big push to privatize across the country, and you can get into a lot of politics about why that is, and there's been a lot of study on the topic of the school-to-prison pipeline, which I'm not going to get into, but there are definitely people out there that equate privatization with fewer rights, like disciplinary protections and things like that. I've also heard that, Bloomberg, I think, is behind the creation of a lot of charter schools in Los Angeles or in California, and they have pretty lofty goals for how many tens or hundreds of charter schools they want to create. And I know one of the things about the charter schools that's different is they don't have the right to unionize. The charter schools are not subject to the same regulations as regular public schools are, and how the rules apply is difficult to tell anyone because they're both state-specific and charter school-specific. So when you want to know what's going on with your charter school, one of the things you have to do is figure out who's chartering it and then what the rules are, and they vary from school to school, and that's why it's hard to pin them down. They're deregulated, they're autonomous, they do get public funding, but they're exempted from state and local rules and regulations, and they have a reputation for being allowed to be or getting away with being much less, what's the right word, don't observe the rights to the degree required by law of students with IEPs that may be being expelled from school for behavior that's a manifestation of their disability. So because of the way they've been deregulated on the state level, civil rights lawyers have concluded that they're going to increasingly have to rely on federal law to enforce people's rights in the charter schools. Their funding comes from local property taxes, state per pupil allegations, and federal categorical aid programs. And theoretically, all charter schools are supposed to follow the IDEA in the charter school, but we know that there are problems with that, and that's what we're going to talk about next week. With all of that said, there are at least 2 charter schools on the west side of Los Angeles. One is City Charter and the other is New West Charter that parents are dying to get into. And I will tell you that I did an IEP about a year ago at New West Charter School, and whatever else is wrong with it, the school is clean, it's not overcrowded, and when I did the student's IEP, it was one of the most non-adversarial IEPs I've ever gone to. So I think charter schools are a mixed bag, but I want to encourage the listener to look at that publication, and I'm going to talk more about this next week. So that's kind of what I know today about charter schools.
Okay, so the next question, my son's IEP, because of autism, allows him to have speech 1 hour a week. All they work on there is pronunciation, which he needs, but there is no work on creating conversation. How do I get them to work on that?
Okay, so I can't imagine working for an hour a week on articulation. I mean, I think it would just drive everybody crazy. And if he's a child with autism, you assume that he has problems with expressive and receptive language and pragmatics, among other things, in conversation. So you've got to go back and look at the IEP goal that was written. And if the only goal that they wrote for him was an articulation goal, that's probably a denial of faith, because probably he should have had goals in these other areas. You don't say when his last assessment for speech and language was completed, but if you go back and take a look at it, see whether it is deficient in that it doesn't mention any other problem areas except for articulation, or if in fact it does, and so the deficiency was that those things weren't written into the IEP. If you're concerned that the speech and language evaluation upon which his IEP is predicated is deficient, and the assessment is less than 2 years old, you can write the district a letter and request an evaluation at public expense in the area of speech and language, and that would be a way to get an outside person, an outside professional speech therapist, to do an assessment of him and figure out what his unique needs are in the area of speech and language, and then you could come back to the team and you could improve the IEP.
Wonderful. Great concept. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.